Hello and welcome back to Let's Play Pillars of Eternity with me, Bregaton.
Mm-hmm.
Let's speak to Eder once again. The smell of pipe smoke, at once earthy and sweet, winds its way into your nostrils. Your eyes trace the smoke to its origin. We find a broad man with straw-colored hair, leaning against a mossy rock wall, his pipe held to his lips with one meaty hand. He looks you directly in the eye, but the look is not aggressive. He regards you with a peculiar smirk.
17 and a half. Well, could be 18, depending on how you count the dwarf woman.
I'm sorry?
The dwarf woman. You were trying to figure out whether to count her as a full person. I think you oughta.
But what are you talking about?
The people hanging from the tree. 18 of them. Well, last I counted, anyway.
Aloth frowns. Is that what you people do for fun around here?
Name's Eder. Though to the people around here, might as well be 19. Don't think I'd put you much higher than 22, 23 tops. You look like the sort that likes to get involved.
He extends his hand, and he looks you up and down and grimaces. He tisks. What makes you think I was interested in the dwarf woman? He looks at you a moment, his brow arched. His smirk broadens.
I was smoking over here, saw you staring at her. Twice I refilled my pipe. You never so much as blinked. Your mouth was so slack I took you for a Radric at first.
What's it to you? You have to forgive my curiosity. Around here, we prefer to turn a blind eye to our dead. Do you know what a watcher is?
Careful, friend. Let's not use that word round here. Could be any number of Radric bootlickers within earshot. Ciphers, animancers, watchers. Same thing in the eyes of folks around here, Radric especially. They come to these parts all the time with their cures, preying on the desperate. None of them are who they claim to be.
He glances about quickly, then leans in.
Of course, seeing you with that funny look, I'd be halfway inclined to believe you were having some kind of communion with that dwarf. Either case, maybe I'm not 19 after all. No offense.
None taken. Good. They don't mean it personal when they hang folks here. I have to remind myself.
The town's had it in for me for a long time now. Only fellow who ever stuck up for me, well, he's number 18 up there. My headman on the farm. Used to be my captain during the war.
The war. Saints' War. Only one in my lifetime. Bella decides he's the living incarnation of Eothas, overthrows Raid Saris, marches on Deerwood, so we gave him a Deerwooden hello. What's a Deerwooden hello?
We blew him up.
He smiles at this, but it's a smile of one recounting a joke for effect, rather than enjoyment. Who is Eothas? God of rebirth and redemption. Formerly, anyhow. Maybe they call him something different where you're from. I had other questions. I got time. But why was your headman hanged? Got involved. Frederick sent men down here the other day. Said they had it on good authority someone in town was working with Kolsk, plotting Radric's overthrow. Said if he didn't come forward right then and there, they'd hang every last one of us. No one was coming forward, so Swithin, that's my headman, he steps up and says it's him. They took him at his word. He sighs and shakes his head, his eyes fixed on the tree. Bound to happen sooner or later, if not for plotting against Radric, then for protecting me. But what does your town have against you?
Pick the wrong god. That's what it comes down to. Used to be a lot of Aethys worshippers in Gilded Vale. That mess of rocks over there, that was a temple to him, to give you some idea.
He shrugs.
Then one day, somebody named Widewind shows up on Deerwood's doorstep. Says he's the living flesh of Aethys. Got an army with him. Suddenly, Aethys isn't so popular in these parts. My brother Woden and me, neither of us believed it. No way was that Aethys. He enlisted, then I did too. But, he didn't make it back. After the war, people took to punishing Aethys worshippers, accusing them of treason. Got real ugly, especially after the legacy started. Folks needed someone to blame. I was safe because I fought, but then this rumor starts that my brother, that he was on the wrong side. And I wasn't so safe anymore. Until my headman stepped in and said they'd have to hang him to get to me. Seems that's no longer a concern. Of course, the townies don't do the hanging these days, but when Raedric's men come, they got no problem doing the pointing.
He looks up at the tree, his eyes trailing one of the swaying bodies. Eloth glances at you and lowers his voice. You can see why I was eager to leave. Who's Kolsk? Someone who got tired of all the hangings. He's on the run now. Probably will be till they catch him. If you're next to be hanged, what are you still doing here? He gives a half smile. Drinking, mostly. Point of fact, I'm on my way out. Just haven't figured out where I'm going yet. Not a whole lot of places out there that don't think Widewind's legacy started with Widewind. We could travel together. Where are you headed? A place called Cade Noir. There's an old watcher there who might be able to help me.
Seem to remember hearing something about that years ago. He tamed that place. People would seek him out for all kinds of things. Troubles of the soul, questions for the departed. Of course, that was back when you didn't have to say watcher with a hush on your breath. A man such as that, there'd be things I'd want to ask him. Don't know why I never thought of it before.
Something kindles in Eder's eyes, and the vigor of purpose finds its way into his voice.
Not sure how I feel about setting out with a stranger, and a strange one at that. But, truth be told, you might be the only one in town who wouldn't feel some relief seeing me swing from that tree.
He scratches his beard absently with a calloused thumb. There's a fine reason if I ever heard one.
All right, then. Guess I'll do some sightseeing. Long as you're not the one picking the sights.
He shrugs, glances briefly at the tree. He tilts his head forward and gives you a pointed look. Let's get going. Alright, got a dare in our party?
Hey.
Let's take a look at his class and stuff first. He's a fighter. Meadowfolk, Deerwood farmer. Alright, let's level him up. Athletics and survival. So I'll eventually give him weapon focused knight. I don't know if I'm going to quite yet. Rapid recovery might be good to have at this point in the game. So yeah, let's go and grab this. Boost the fighter's hardiness, increasing the rate of his or her constant recovery. Alright, and athletics and survival. There's no downside to confident aim. At some point, I'll probably grab defender. When we have more deflection, so that won't be as detrimental. So we'll grab this for now. Steadies the fighter's arm, causing a percentage of their grazes to be converted to hits, and increasing the minimum damage for melee weapons. Plus 20% of grazes converted to hits, and plus 20% minimum damage.
Yeah.
Alright, let's head back to the second floor of the Blackhound Inn and grab ourselves another companion. Did things slightly out of order last episode and missed him on my first pass. The sound stares intently at the covered window, head cocked as if waiting to hear a particular sound. It looks up when you approach, and whines a low note, tail wagging slightly. Sorry, girl. Don't think he's coming back. The dog whines softly again, head tilting. Well, you can come with me. Maybe we'll find him on the way. Dog's ears perk up. It trots over to you and barks happily. I think, yeah, just the main character can equip a pet. I'll probably just swap them out as I find new ones. Alright, where to next? Let's go to Offer's house. Alright, these both count as stealing. This worn dog-eared book is titled Travels Upon the Keldglis Sea. There's an etched illustration of a vast finned leviathan. A wood woman is standing in front of the fireplace, humming a quiet tune to herself, or perhaps to her unborn child, for she's clearly quite pregnant. She turns her head slightly as you enter.
Hail, traveler.
Well, finally, I was starting to think. The woman makes a startled noise once she turns around and sees you. Oh, I'm sorry, I was expecting someone else. She gives you a cautious smile. Can I help you? Nice cat. Offer smiles brightly. Oh, thank you. She's a sweetheart. Keeps the house clear of mice, too. Who are you expecting? My sister Kalisha is traveling with one of the caravans. She sent a letter before she came. Said she was going to pay her way by working as a guard for the caravan master. She always was a tough one. She pauses. I don't suppose you've seen her on the road. Or the caravan, perhaps. It's Master Otima's. Kalisha didn't make it. Offer covers her mouth with a hand, eyes wide with horror. For a few moments, she can manage nothing but a strangled, voiceless gasping, her eyes brimming with tears. I told her it was a dangerous path to take. Kalisha was always so certain she could take on any danger. Offer sniffs. Oh, my poor sister. I'm sorry, stranger, I can't believe she's gone. If only I hadn't called her here. If I hadn't written to her. She might still be alive somewhere. Offer's face crumples, and a solitary tear slides down her cheek. Well, why did you send for Kalisha? Offer wipes at her eyes. I'm worried about the baby. About the legacy. I told Kalisha as much as I could. All I know is that for a long time now, every child in Gilded Vale has been soulless. Empty. It's happened to so many mothers. Lord Raedric, he's exiled all of them, calling it a sign of the gods' disfavor. She sniffs. With my Hawthorne gone, I don't know how I'd manage if I lost my home, too. I hope Kalisha could help me. They say Ranga, the old midwife, knows a way to prevent a child being hollowborn. But she moved south to Anslog's Compass 2 seasons ago. The journey's too far for me. I can't make it as I am. But I don't have anyone else now, with Kalisha gone. More tears run down her face. Please, can you help me? Off to a terrible start. Pay me. You have my oath that it will be done. It'd be cool if you could make a binding contract with money for like 1 copper. Like, don't charge a whole lot for a good deed. You could play, if you could roleplay as like a good gold pack knight. I don't have very much. I set aside some money for Ranga, but, well, here, would that do? Ranga also has many potions and crafts for sale. Maybe you'll find something of interest. She sniffs. I'm sorry. That's really all I have. You're welcome to some of my food if you want. I have some fruit. I'll find Rango for you. Offer blinks, eyes wide. You will. Oh, gods bless you. Here, I'll give you coin to pay her with. You needn't trouble yourself with that. I think it's a drink she fashions out of, well, I'm not sure. But it shouldn't be too much of a burden to carry back. Anslog's compass is what we call the lagoon to the south. You have to cross the wilds to get there. That's what keeps me from trying it myself. She clasps her hands together. Thank you again, truly. You'll be saving us both. She sets a hand on her stomach, smiling through her tears.
Huh?
Welcome.
Hoperinga agrees to help. Honestly don't know what else I can do. Any chance you could tell me a few things about Gilded Vale? I can certainly try. What would you like to know? Tell me about the village. Let me think. We're farmers mostly, but there's always been work and opportunity for people coming in from elsewhere. In the old days, at least. The Blackhammer Smithery's been here a long time. That's Totanu's place south of the mill. Watanu. Then there's the Black Hound, just a ways south of here. She sighs, trailing off. I have to admit, I don't go out much anymore. With that horrible tree out there. Things aren't like they used to be. I don't have anywhere else to go. Whose lands are these? The Raedric family's held title over these lands for generations. Their keep is northeast of here, past the eastern wood. She holds up a hand. I wouldn't go near mine. He doesn't see visitors or petitioners. Not these days. Some people say that, well, there's some bad seeds in that line. A weaker soul. Maybe that's why he hesitates. Well, never mind. I'm sure Lord Raedric has his reasons. I don't have any more questions. Offer nods. Was there anything else? I'll be going.
Yeah.
I'll see what I can find.
Alright, let's swing south. I'm going to go past the smithery. I'm not going to enter it quite yet. I'm going to build up some more funds before I go look at this shop. Despite the rains, the socks feel as dry and stiff as a locust husk. Alright, Blackhammer Smithery. This bottle of Sunreed is half empty. This man and woman appear to have been in deep conversation, working at closing two bulging satchels. They move to embrace, but the woman notices your approach and pauses, her smile faltering a little.
Hello.
Can we help you? She looks to her companion, brows furrowing with confusion. You know this man, Naunton? Naunton coughs. Yes, I think we met in the Vale Wood. I warned him about the bear. He inclines his head. Glad to see you've made it. Was there something else you wanted? You two seem to be in a hurry. Yes, I imagine so. Ingrid laughs. We're packing for a trip, actually. I've been meaning to visit Defiance Bay, and... He looks at Naunton. Well, in truth, I think I've had my fill of this town. Naunton reaches to take her hand. It's time for some new scenery, he says. Maybe I can't ask the other question. I wonder if Ingrode was Naughton's friend's significant other. Now they're running away together. Is there anything you can tell me about Gilded Vale? Ingrode smiles wryly. Only that you want to be moving on as soon as you can. You have seen the tree, I imagine, but the rot goes deeper. If you're looking for work, I'd say you have a better chance of it elsewhere. Ready for Defiance Bay ourselves, Nanton adds. Alright, goodbye.
Welcome. Greetings.
Right, this doesn't count as stealing. Deerwood Part 2, The Broken Stone War. In 2626 AI, a group of farmers, while clearing farmland for planting, accidentally knocked down one of the ancient Adra menhirs on their land. This innocent act drew the ire of the native population and started what would become known as the Broken Stone War. When it was finally over, several thousand colonists had been killed, as well as hundreds of the Glenfothans. Even though the war was technically over, Glenfothans escalated their attacks on the settlers over the next 2 years, using vicious tactics that left many colonists, several military figures, an earl, and 6 thanes dead. Able to stop the Glenfothan attacks, the Earls elected Earl Edrang Hedret to the position of Griff. Well respected and known to be a master of military tactics, he was tasked with dealing with the Glenfothan threat. Edrang fought with the Glenfothans, led by an Orla named Regd, for the next 2 years. Neither side can gain the upper hand on the other, resulting in a tense stalemate between the two groups. Because of this stalemate, hostilities slowly died off, and in 2631, the Deerwooden people signed a treaty with the Glenfothans. Regd would step down, the Glenfothans would stop their attacks altogether, the Deerwooden people would leave the ruins alone. This treaty angered the nobility in Eder, as it brought to a halt the supply of artifacts. Edrang also tried to get the practice of slavery outlawed, but this was not successful. Because of this, the peace between the Deerwood and Ir Glenfoth is uneasy and tumultuous. Small patches of rural violence still cropped up, but were easily dealt with, as neither side wanted another war.
Huh?
I'll see what I can find.
Rats scurry behind the sacks.
I'll see what I can find.
Well, it's a much larger part. The Deerwood Part 3, The War of Black Trees, and the Rise of Admeth Hadrit. After the Broken Stone War, the Deerwood would see peace and prosperity for 21 years. Aside from the occasional slave uprising or border dispute, nothing of any note happened until 2652 AI. After some of the Deerwooden earls, tired of being restricted by the treaties and encouraged by imperial sources, defied the decrees and actively sent people to loot the ruins in the Deerwood. Response from the Glenfothans was not immediate, but when it came, it was brutal and bloody. As a slave uprising, Reg resumed control of his guerrilla fighters. A contingent of Delemgin joined the forces as well, making the fights in the force even more deadly for the Deerwooden soldiers. Edrang, then far too old to lead Deerwood in the war, sent his son Admeth to deal with the situation. Admeth, who had the same tactical prowess as his father, set fire to the force at the Iskwar River, and then blocks the forces retreating from the Inferno. Some of the Glenfothans escape, but thousands would die in the blaze. Regd is captured and sent to holding in New Hiomar. This goes on for several months, and Admeth uses the same tactic many times to flush Glenfothans and Delemgan from the battlefield. The entire war lasts less than a year. The Deerwood eventually wins, but at a terrible price. This conflict would come to be known as the War of Black Trees. Tragedy struck the Deer Wood in 2654 when Edring, whose health had been waning, succumbed and passed into the cycle. Regd, who had developed a begrudging respect for his constant adversary over the years they had fought, sent Adameth his sincere condolences from captivity in New Hiamar. Adameth assumed his father's place as Gref over the Deer Wood. The other earls disliked this development and began publicly rebuking Admeth's decrees. In 2655 AI, Admeth, tired of the problems caused by the recalcitrant earls, having support of the new Valian dukes of the common folk of Deerwood, having saved them from the Glenfathans, delivers an ultimatum to the Fairconing of Eder. The demands be made at Griff Palatine. This move would give him the authority and power over all the earls, their holdings, and their titles. Deerwood would become a palatinate instead of a Greffrum. The Fairconing, who did not want to have to deal with the rebellion while trying to establish a hold on the Vorless trade network in Riadceras, begrudgingly agreed to Admeth's demands. Admeth would use this new power to bring all the earls in line. As a trade-off for being given the power, Adameth put money and resources into all of the Deerwood's ports to increase shipping traffic. In turn, this increased the Fairconing's income. Under Admeth's rule, the Deerwood saw 7 productive and profitable years. In 2662 AI, he did what had been tried for many years without success, bringing slavery to an end in the Deerwood. He negotiated the 10 Years Treaties, so called because it has been 10 years since the War of the Black Trees. A timeline was established in which the slaves will be released. The owners will be compensated with money or land for each slave released. If they did not comply, the slaves would be taken and a fine would be levied against the owner. In return, the Glenfathans would open trade with the Deerwood and cede some of their territories to the Deerwooden government, in practice meaning they would stop contesting the presence of those who lived and ruled there. Hundreds of Coopers attempted to rebel against this. Adameth, expecting just such a reaction, reacted accordingly, and the rebellion was quickly crushed. His agents then spread propaganda through the populace, making the Coopers' rebellion and its instigators seem far worse than they truly were. This tactic worked, and there'd be no more trouble.
Yeah.
Another history lesson. Alright, same description as the other stalks to the south. Alright, some mushrooms up there to grab. Over here, it's probably the same description as the other fields. Also, I know I'm probably butchering the pronunciation of some of these words. Until I hear it voice acted, I'll probably continue to do so. A lot of them are made up. And we know there's more grain in there, Trumbull. We'll settle for scraps where we grow fat on our crops. Muffled shouting emerges from inside the mill. The first of you drunkards comes through that door, gets a shot between the eyes. Gods hear me, sweetener. I'll put you down like a dog. Come away for now, lads. But we'll be back, Trumbull. We'll have fair prices, or by the flame, we'll have a reckoning. Alright, let's go ahead and talk to Trumbull. Let the sound cut out there for a second. I was checking to see how long the episode has been. An elven man stands before you, his relatively stocky build suggesting a life of labor. His face is pale and drawn, and his eyes wide. Behind him, The younger man and woman exchange worried glances. The miller raises a club as you enter. It shakes violently in his grip. Get back if you value your life. Put that down before you get yourself hurt. Chum only raises the club higher. I mean it. We'll have Sweener and his lackeys threatening me on my own mill. Who's Sweener? The dwarf. The one standing out there spreading lies among the villagers. Bastard's been here for decades. He hasn't gotten any kinder with time. Miller hesitates, then lowers the club a fraction. Who are you? Is Sweener roping foreigners into his little crusade now? What was all that ruckus outside? Trumbull shakes his head. Where to begin? Sweener's whipped them up into a froth, going on about the grain stores. Claims I've hidden away most of it. All I do with the grain is sell it. I can't create it out of thin air. I can't hand it out for free. I pay the farmers for the crops they bring in. I sell what comes out of the mill. Most of it goes to the Black Hound, to the west side of town for ale. And Sweener and his lot sure don't mind that part. Take a look at the fields on the way into town. The crop's blighted. Most of what I'm getting from the farmers. Tumble gestures to the sacks and containers. It's gone off, rotted through. I can't pay top prices for blighted wheat. I barely got enough good grain to go around. Sweener's howling after things he has no right to. You don't want those people in here with torches. Maybe you ought to stop lying to me. Trumbull blinks, taken aback. I'm not. Look, it's no lie. The stores really are low. With so little grain going around, I had to raise the prices for some people. There are folks in this town that deserve far better than Sweener and his lot. People who have done more good for Gilded Vale. What do you mean? Sweener, the rest, they've always been troublemakers. Loud, drunken fools. That woman with them, her soul traces back to Dryden, that wretched brigand, and it shows. We have good people in this town. People still hanging on to what's left of it. They deserve a little more. That's all I'm saying. Sweener's people are farmers. They gathered that grain for you. They sure didn't mind losing that grain when it was going into the drinks at the inn. They don't make like-kind neighbors when they insult my son, go stumbling drunk through my own crops. You think they're the only ones that need to eat. Now the crops are sick, and the wind's too weak to get the windmill turning. Our village's children are born as empty shells. That's not my doing. This place is cursed. And Sweener and the others haven't done a thing to help the rest of us through the lean season. Maybe I ought to go have a talk with Sweener then. The miller all but sags with relief. I'd be grateful if you did. You won't listen to me anymore. Then maybe you'll have better luck. Tell him we're all having a hard time of it. We'll all have to make some sacrifices. We'll be in your debt for it. If you can convince him. A rancid stench rises from this grain. It's mushy and mottled with green. Counts as stealing.
I shall be discreet.
Hail, traveler.
Trumbull nods a curt greeting. You're back. Have you had any luck with Sweener? Not yet, I'll be back. My father's a good man. He's always done right by the town. I'm sure Father can explain better just what's happened here. Alright, I'll call the episode here. We'll see if we can't take care of this quest next time. I'll see if there's more questions I can ask Trumbull at the beginning of next episode. Then we'll go have a chat with Sweener and see what we can do. But for now, thanks for watching. I hope to see you guys in the next one.